Hey everybody, if you haven't been here before, I am Champayne. I am just going to talk to you a little bit about what's been going on in the last few months. So basically, since April, I thought that I possibly was pregnant, so I just kept taking pregnancy tests. But they were negative until the very end of May. I got a positive. So I made my doctor's appointment. It was honestly like a month later. And then I didn't even get to see my OB then. They had to go over like the new rules and regulations because of COVID. Basically, you're not allowed to have anyone else accompany you to your appointments. Minors are okay if unavoidable, but they don't really want them there. Basically, social distancing. If you have any symptoms, yada yada yada, you'll have to wear masks while you deliver. Your hubby or your mom or whoever you choose, you can only have like one person in your birthing room, and you can't switch them out with anyone else. So if your husband is with you for, let's say you're in labor for 3 days and your husband's with you for 2 days, goes home to shower, God forbid you have other kids. I have 3 other kids. But God forbid, and then you want to like go check on them, but you can't have like your mom or someone else like sub in for you. You have to be left alone basically until they come back. But basically that was like the first appointment, and then the next appointment out wasn't until like early to mid-June. Yeah. Yes. No, I lied. My first appointment was in June. My second appointment was in July, but it was after the 4th of July. It was like a week or two after. Yes, because right before the 4th of July, well, I had been bleeding like that whole time. Not really heavily bleeding, but just like spotting a little bit. Sorry, TMI for all of you who are not women or who have never had kids. Sorry, but this can happen. And I had told the lady at the first appointment that, and she was like, oh, that's normal. Like, call us if it becomes like heavy or if you're filling up more than a pad an hour. And that never happened to me. So unlike all my other 3 pregnancies, I was like, this is definitely different, and I feel like it's not right. But my health professionals were like, it's okay, just keep waiting, be patient. And so I go in finally for my ultrasound. Oh, wait, before that. I had like an abscess in my tooth, and like my whole face just started swelling up, like up to my eyes. I might insert a pic. It's super embarrassing though, so maybe not. But basically I was super miserable. Like I couldn't get up. I couldn't really take care of myself. I was throwing up every time I moved, every time I tried to eat. Yeah, it was just horrible. And I know that most of the time that's like a symptom of pregnancy, but that had never happened in the pregnancy until I had to start taking an antibiotic for my abscess. And that is also a side effect of the antibiotic. And even on top of the anti-nausea medicine that they were giving me, on top of the antibiotic, basically I was still puking. So we went through a full round of antibiotics and my infection did not go away. So they sent me for a second round of antibiotics, and again my infection did not go away because I was pregnant, so they had to put me on like a lower dose. just to be safer for the baby. But then when I went back again, at that point, I had no other option than to get on the higher dose, and I had lost the baby. So yeah. But no, so I did have a doctor's appointment in between those two dentist appointments. And at my doctor's appointment, my OB, he did the internal ultrasound, and I had a womb and everything, but no baby. And when I say a womb, I mean like a developed womb. My hormones, the cap out for 2 to 3 months is about 100,000. I think it's HCGs, but I was like 196,000, which is well above normal, especially for not having a baby. That led my OB to believe that I had what's called a molar pregnancy. A molar pregnancy is a pregnancy where, and don't come after me because I'm not a medical professional. I only know basically what I've been told and what I've read up on, and I do not have perfect recall, so I could be also incorrect about that. I'm not reading from a script. But basically it's not enough genetic makeup or a problem in the fertilization of the egg, or what is it? Basically, it's like it's a problem with my egg. There's not enough genetic makeup in the egg to make a human, but your body will still make one. It's like a gastro something disease. I don't know, but it's super rare. Once it happens to you, it'll typically only happen to you like once ever. What I had to do in order to preserve me emergency surgery later was to have a D&C done. So I did. I scheduled my D&C, which was horrific. Everything about it was just terrible. Yeah, 10 out of 10 would not recommend. But my doctor, he was amazing. All my doctors, my nurses, my anesthesiologist, everyone that was at Sutter, Roseville was amazing and made me feel taken care of. Sorry. That so after that, I went home. I recovered for a week and a couple days actually, and then I went back to work. I took it easy for like the first week, at least the best that I could. It's still what I do. I have to be kind of bouncing around and running from like one side of our building to the other, like multiple times. Anytime someone needs me on this side, anytime someone needs me on that side, and then I'm also answering phones, posting signs and whatnot. And I did have quite a bit of cramping, but like I wouldn't think that was uncommon because it's in the paperwork that is a side effect, like that you will experience. But as long as you're not like heavily bleeding, you're fine. So I get through my first full week and on to my second week. And my second week was really rough. I was kind of getting my butt handed to me. I hadn't been to work in like over a month, and I was trying to reteach myself on how to do stuff that the last time that I had even done it, even though I had been at work, like that wasn't my job function, like that's not exactly what I did, so I wasn't familiar with it. But basically I was doing like accounts, well, only a couple days. I was doing accounts payable and receivable, controlling like the cash in, the cash out, deposits, check cashing, money wiring, transferring, like all of that, all of like the financials portion of my job, which is very hard. There is like 60 something, like 70 steps, and that's not even everything, and you have to follow them in that order so that you don't mess anything up, all while like helping people, helping coworkers, checking people in, because now that COVID, you also have to be like screening every employee, and we've got like a little over 100 and something employees. So yeah, I was a busy ass bitch. Oh, a busy girl. I was a very busy woman at that time, and I was very stressed. I was still having to run back and forth because I had done things incorrectly at a couple of the locations on the other side of the store, because we had changed like the denominations in one of or two of the registers, and yeah, there was no notes on that, so I didn't know how to count it. I didn't know how to rebuild it. I didn't know how to like lie to the machine and be like, should I tell it that there's money in it when there's not money in it? What should I do? But so like that was frustrating, especially because there wasn't anyone at the location that was able to answer those questions for me. And when I call other locations, not all of us have the same self-checkouts, and yeah, that didn't help me either. So thankfully, by the fourth time that I was doing that, I did okay. Like I feel like I understood it, and I could see all of the different spots that I had messed up prior, the week before, and because I had done it 2 weeks prior and 2 days prior, or 2 days the week prior and 2 days the current week. So then I went and I did what was it? I did one. So after my 2 days of opening that, I closed it. I did a little bit in pharmacy for like the flu shots and stuff like that, and then I went and I did the rest of the closing procedures and counting tills and auditing other cashiers and blah 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 blah, all that fun stuff. So then the next day is Friday, and it's my Friday. I have Saturday off, I have Sunday off, or wait, no, I'm supposed to be working Saturday. I lied. I was supposed to be closing the booth again on Saturday. Oops, I forgot about that. But I had Sunday off, I know that for sure. But so I get to work, well, first on Friday. Also, my kids had started distance learning, and for those of you who don't have children, it's basically where you have to teach them at home, but also while they're watching like apps online. But it's like 4 or 5 different apps, and it's in like 15 to 30 minute increments. I've got a transitional kindergartner and a first grader. My first grader uses 5 different apps. My kindergartner my TKer uses 2 different apps. Sorry. But so the day before, while I was at work, my babysitter couldn't figure out how to get them online. So once I got home, then I got them online, got their stuff watched, got their assignments drawn, colored. Well, they were each different, but I got them all done. And then I sent the picture proof to the teachers. Because you have until 7:30 at night, at least right now. They might change that to get attendance credit. And then and then the next day I woke up super early because I've been very anxious about work, about everything really. Everything that having a molar pregnancy and just all that, there's been so much moving parts in my life. I'm still going through a divorce, and it's been ongoing for almost 4 years now, and it's exhausting. I'm mentally, physically, emotionally exhausted. Sorry, my chickens are trying to fight. Don't do that. But so I wake up super early. I start getting everything ready for the day. The kids wake up. I get them on their school calls. I start making them breakfast. And then before that, actually, I had to clean up underneath my kitchen table and stuff because the cat had an upset tummy and had diarrhea, so I had to get all that out and cleaned, sanitized, and it's just not fun. And then I had to get ready for work. My kids finished my son had his Zoom calls, my daughter had a Zoom call, and then a Google Classroom check-in / submission. Okay, sorry. It's kind of hard to talk about, sorry. But so, I get them all done with that. The babysitter gets there. We both go together to pick up my son's school packets because they had to stagger days, germs, social distancing, different years, grades, whatever you want to call it. And stuff. They were all going at different times, different days to pick up their classwork. So I did that, and then I legitimately raced over to work. Straight from there, I got there I wasn't scheduled until 11:30, but I wanted to get there at 10:30. I didn't get there until 10:50 because I was talking with my son's teacher. She wanted to talk to me about if I think the 7:30 cutoff is a little too late, which I don't personally think it's too late. Maybe towards the beginning of the year, for sure, 100% and definitely, because a lot of us are working full-time or having medical emergencies and working full-time and trying to do schooling and housework and dinner and lawn, all of that. And I cannot, like, anyone that has, I have 3 kids, like, anyone that has more right now, like, I can't imagine, especially while working, or if they're younger, like, could you imagine, like, moms of, like, younger twins right now? Oh my gosh, like, you deserve medals, literally. But, so we talked a little bit about that, and then I had to run off. We took their pictures, and then I had to run off to work. And so I get there, and I literally hit the ground running. Because I work at a grocery store, there are a lot of things right now that we have to keep up on. So not even 5 minutes after I clock in, I'm looking over our profile. I'm hearing about the people who have called in and who we have to replace, how many, what positions they're in, what couldn't be done, everything that's happened before I got there. Since I'm front-end manager that day. I'm not always a front-end manager, and I'm really not a manager at all in any way, shape, or form, unless they randomly decide to put me there that day. Typically, it's because we have a couple of us that rotate in our normal front-end manager spot while she has like a vacation or just needs her regular 2 days off because she can't work 7 days. I know they wish that she would, but so yeah, no, I get a call. I'm at the self-checkout talking with one of the employees about everything because she's like a senior employee, and my store manager calls, and as soon as I answer, he's like, we have no cards on our side. There was no cards being well, they were being sanitized, but there were no sanitized cards available, which is very unacceptable, especially right now with COVID. We would have to shut down the store if we cannot provide them a card. So basically, I pulled 2 other staff because I already had one cleaning them and I had one collecting them. So I pulled 2 others, and I was like, go double team them. I want 2 of you on each side. So you guys pull in from your side, and then you guys clean from your side and your side, because everyone and their mom decides they need to run to the grocery during the COVID, because that's the only place you can really go other than out to eat if you want to eat outside. But even then, you still have to wear a mask, and there's lots of people who are anti-mask and won't go anywhere that requires you to wear a mask. But so it's just a very frustrating and stressful time. And so I took care of that fire, and then it got really busy. I'm handing people breaks. I had to, I got a call from my backup bookkeeper. She's our old booth manager, who is one of our booth clerks right now, because the money really isn't worth it to be a manager in that department. So yeah, she's basically running the show right now, because our other booth manager, with everything that has been put in on that position, she had been wanting to find another position before COVID even. She had moved on to bigger and better things. We miss her, we love her. But so she had called me while I was at self-checkout and said that she had a customer there who had purchased items. She does this routinely, not with the same excuse, but just likes to return high dollar items and not have a receipt, and just some of the excuses, like, I'll tell you what she has said to me. But so I go over there and I was like, no problem. I got no problem telling people no. I have also no problem telling people yes or making people happy. That's something that our company loves doing, and specifically our store manager loves doing. So I feel totally confident and comfortable in like my right to take care of a customer if they are like an honest, genuine customer. This person had purchased bags of like jumbo shrimp, which are typically about like $15 to $20 a bag. She had them in her freezer for I don't know how long because she didn't have a receipt. Her freezer went out and she brought the mushy, squishy bags back and wanted us to refund them because her freezer broke down. And even though we have signs posted everywhere, because right now returns are restricted anyways, because there's no way that I can guarantee that the items that you're bringing into me are not contaminated with COVID. Like, I have no way of knowing who's at your house, who's visiting you, who you're visiting. And yeah, so basically, unless it's something that's expired, damaged before you take it home, or just doesn't taste well, so like say it's in date but it tastes bad, like expired, those are the three things that we will accept items. And sometimes even we'll make exceptions for like what is that items, like hard items that we can sanitize, but they also have to go through a sanitation process. Anything else, like, we just take a loss on. And so I explained to her that I could not return it, and she just kept pushing it, and I just kept telling her no, sorry, no. Try again, no. Or try with your refrigerator or freezer company, because that's not really how like returns work. But I didn't say it like that, obviously, of course. My customer service voice definitely went to college. But no, I was very polite to her. I just explained to her I'm very sorry. I showed her our signage that was clearly posted. Literally at that register too, like right in front where she was standing. I can't do it. It's our policy right now that I can't put myself and my coworkers and even other customers in jeopardy. Just like why we are literally not allowed to touch, if you bring in your own bags, I cannot touch your bag. You cannot bag on our counters, and if your bags touch our counters, we have to shut that register down and sanitize it. So everything takes a lot more time now. And then everyone gets really angry that it takes a lot more time now. But it's like, do you want to get the COVID? You know? But yeah, so I dealt with that situation. I ran back because I had started seeing lines. I kept having to pay people up front. I was relieving people for their breaks. And then all of a sudden, well, I had been there. I had skipped my first break by like 40 minutes. I got there at 10:40. It was 1:30. No, it was like 1. Yeah, it was like 1 o'clock. So 10:30, 11:30, 12:31. So like by an hour, but I was really busy. And then all of a sudden I just felt like gushing starting, and I panicked a little. I had one of my favorite, well, a couple of my favorite coworkers actually, standing relatively close to me, and I grabbed one. I was just like, oh no. Like, I am bleeding. And keep in mind, I'm still bleeding this whole time, but like very, very lightly. So all I have is like a very thin pad. So like basically like a long panty liner, but like a little thicker, like 2 panty liners basically. So that wasn't gonna hold what I knew was coming out. So I grabbed my coworker and I was like, help me. And I dragged her behind me as I went, and I grabbed like pads and then just walked straight through self-checkout and then dragged her. I didn't even finish paying. Like, I hit my pin, hit the button, and walked away. Didn't grab my receipt, nothing. And then I dragged her to straight to the bathroom. By the time I had gotten to the bathroom, the entire front of my pants and my shirt were covered in blood. Like, not like the top, but like definitely all right here. So it was definitely like a lot of blood. And then as soon as, and also sorry TMI, I should have put like a warning in there. But sorry, so sorry. But so, I had gotten in there, thankfully, and I had started getting like the blood cleaned up, but also like spreading it everywhere because it's blood. I was so traumatized. I was a little panicked. I passed a lot of clots also, and I know that my head doctor had told me, like, if you're bleeding that much, basically you can't fill a pad in an hour. I was about to fill a pad in like 30 seconds. Not like 30 seconds, but like 20 minutes. Real life. And so I, like, my underwear was covered, even though like the pad, like it went out and around, and like, oh god, it was, I had no way to hide it. Like, it was just so embarrassing. I walked directly from there to the front, told my senior clerk who I had checked in with in the morning that I would be having to leave, and I would change and I'd come back. So I go home, and my man is just getting home. My babysitter's there, all my kids are there. And he's like, hey, what's going on? And I'm like, oh, you know, like I just bled through because I was just working through my break, and like I just have to pay attention to the time, yada yada yada. It's like me. It's like my fault. I shouldn't have done that. Silly, you know. Yeah, no. So I change and I go back to work. I have a brand new pad on. All the while though, I did call my advice nurse, and once I had gotten back to work, I had walked into the bookkeeping office because I was still on the phone at that point, and I had not gotten off the phone with the doctor, so I didn't know, or at least with the advice nurse, so I didn't know what I should be doing. At that point, I had filled another pad. It had been about an hour since the bleeding had started because I had to drive home, drive back. By that time, yeah, it was just not a good situation to be in. So I explained to the advice nurse what was going on. I asked her like what I should do, and I'm not even kidding. She said someone would call me back in an hour. So as I'm talking on the phone, I do have 2 other clerks with me. it's my girl that called me to handle the customer earlier, and one of my other favorite employees. But at this point, I'm like, I'm really scared. I don't know what to do. I don't want to die. Like, I have 3 kids and, like, you know, a lot to live for. So my girl from earlier was like, I'm taking you to the hospital. Let's go. So we go to my store manager. We give him a brief, like, rundown. Like, hey, I'm bleeding. It's not stopping. I gotta go. And he was stunned. And he was just like, okay. Like, oh. And then, so she takes me to Sutter. And I'm like, girl, take me to urgent care because it's cheaper than the emergency room. Again, if this was if I was to take care of someone else, or if this was to happen to someone else, I'd be like, no, we're going to emergency. But of course, for myself, I'd be like, nah, let's go the cheaper route. And then have it bite me in the ass. So she drops me off at urgent care. Well, because she had asked me if I needed her to stay, and I was like, no, and they're not really allowing you to do that right now anyways. So she drops me off. I go in, I fill out the little slips, I get my screen to make sure I don't have any symptoms of COVID before I'm allowed to enter the building. And I get called back to the window, right? And she said, and how long has this been happening? And I said, for about an hour and a half. And she said, and how many pads have you been through? And I said, like 3. And then she was like, hold on, let me go talk to one of the doctors. I'll be right back to make sure you're in the right place. So she goes, not even 2 minutes later, comes back and she goes, I'm gonna need you to go to the emergency room. Dead ass. Oh, I don't know why I didn't think that my situation wasn't emergent enough for the emergency. Because I'm bleeding out. So I'm like, but I got dropped off. And she goes, do you need a map? So, I mean, it's just across the street. So I walk, and I honestly, like, I almost gave up halfway there. I was so dizzy and tired, like, which is really pathetic because it's probably like less than 100, 200 feet away. And I was like, I'm not gonna make it. But I did. Thankfully I did. And I'm like sobbing, right? By that time I'm like shaking. The lady at the front, I don't know, but I don't think she liked me at all. She was just like gave me weird looks, and I'm like, oh, no. And I'm trying to give her the papers that I got checked in from the other place, and she was like, oh, I don't need these. But the lady at the other place was like, keep these to give to that lady. And then the other lady was like, well, I'm not using those. And I was like, oh, sorry, like I don't. Oh. And then she's like, you can't wear that mask. I have to give you a separate mask or like a new one. And I was just like, okay, like, I'll do whatever you want. Like, that's cool. Just give me everything that you got. I don't know. At this point, like, I'm just don't know what's happening. And I just am scared. And I keep having to explain, like, that I lost, like, a non-baby. And I could be dying. Like, it's very scary. So basically, I get all checked in. They ask me to give them a urine sample. So I take the little cup, I go to the bathroom. Like, I used the little wipey thing, of course, but like I had filled another pad. I'm not even kidding, and I was just like, what the fuck? Because I didn't take the pads that I bought at work with me because I was just in a hurry. Like, I was just panicked and leaving. Sorry, I'm crying while doing my makeup, which is why also I didn't want to put a lot on today. But so I gave them a urine sample, but then like I had to, like most girls, if you're a girl, like you have at one point or another probably had to use toilet paper as a pad in an emergency situation. So that is exactly what I had to do. I wadded up a whole bunch, and like my urine sample was literally just like, even though I used the clean catch stuff, like just full of blood. I think my results were like plus 5 or plus 3 blood. I think it was plus 5 because I think the one before my sample or test before that was plus 3. But that was like a test prior. I don't know. I will double check and confirm. But so I walked up to the lady and I had to ask her for like a pad because again I had bled out and bled over the other one, and I didn't know what to do because I'm not at home. Like, I'm at a hospital and I'm stuck here for however long. So she was like, no problem, like I got you. And I'm like, I'm so sorry, like I didn't plan this. And she assured me I had no reason to be sorry, not to apologize, blah blah blah, all the nice human things. Because she was awesome. But so then I'm sitting there and I'm waiting to get called back. There's a whole bunch of people there. This sweet old lady who was having some issues. So I finally get called back. I get seen by a few people. They take my blood sample. I find out that my HCG levels have jumped back up. Well, I don't find that out yet. So they do that. They talk to me about like what's been going on. They did like they took like my heart rate, all that. And then I feel like I sat in there for almost like an hour before they realized like, oh, she needs to go back out in the waiting room so that we can pull someone else in because she's just waiting to be seen to get like an ultrasound done. So I go back out in the waiting room, and they call me back for ultrasound. And to get my ultrasound done, having a lot of I wouldn't say fun, but kind of fun with the ultrasound tech. She was really sweet. I really have to make light of the situation because that's the only way I can deal with it. Whenever I'm extraordinarily distraught or scared, what have you, I like to use humor to kind of combat my fear. As I feel like most people do. But so I could tell something was wrong because she was like laughing and fun and stuff until she got to my left ovary. She kept saying that like it was hiding. Well, she was saying both my ovaries were hiding, right? They were hiding behind my tissue or my uterus or something. Alarm. Recap. Basically, for those of you who don't know, molar pregnancies can reoccur and be a fortune cookies. What is it called? A persistent mole. A persistent mole is a molar pregnancy that keeps reoccurring. Yay! And basically, you will keep, air quote, miscarrying over and over. Your body will keep reproducing that pregnancy, and your hormones will keep probably going up. It increases your risk for that. It's like carcinoma something. It's a very rare cancer. Also, yay. So yeah, that Loki Fuck 2020 song is pretty accurate. I go back out in the waiting room because the ultrasound tech, she can't tell me anything about my health, like as far as like my scans go. She's not allowed to interpret that kind of stuff. She's only allowed to take the scans and send them to the doctor. Well, surgeon. They are the ones who review them and decide this is what it is, these are our options, yada yada yada. Basically, at this point, my options are, at that point, my options were I could try to undergo DNC again, but at that point, I had lost a lot. Not a lot, but like a bit of blood, and it would be a high risk to perform another DNC and risk making me hemorrhage, or I could have a hysterectomy, or the option I went with was to wait it out, since I don't know, they did at the beginning they were just more concerned about conserving what blood I had left in my body, which we did, and my bleeding had slowed and almost stopped. So I decided, well, I don't think I'm gonna bleed out as long as I'm like taking it easy or resting. I think working so hard is honestly what made me start bleeding in the first place, because I was literally like running, trying to get from one customer to another customer to try to help one employee get a break, to just all over the place. I was just trying to do the best I could, especially since I hadn't been there, and like I didn't recognize a lot of people because we've had so much turnaround, because we're in the middle of a pandemic and it is hard work and you're expected to do a lot, and not in a bad way. Like, nothing's wrong with hard work, but it's just a very high stress, and you don't have enough time to do all the things that you're required to do. I just mascara on. But, I decided to hopefully go through chemo and get rid of this persistent mole so that I don't have to lose the ability to ever carry a child. It's quite devastating to want to have a child and be told that you might never be able to do that again, especially after you thought that you were already carrying a baby. But yeah, hopefully I will have better news from here on out. And yeah, just stay tuned. And sorry for getting weepy.